Hello everyone, welcome to the channel update for December. I hope everyone's November went well, and if you celebrated Thanksgiving, I hope you had a nice time with friends or family. Or if you just celebrated alone, I hope you had a nice time then too. So let's go ahead and talk about what is going on the channel right now. Of course, active series are Golden Sun and Eiyuden Chronicle. Those are going up every day. And we are currently pretty close to the end of Golden Sun, I think. I think there's probably only a few weeks of that left, so we should be finishing that up before the end of December, if I have a good feel for the flow of the game and everything like that. I know that the second, it basically leads right into the second game, so we definitely have a lot going on that is not getting tied up, I think. But I don't really remember much about the second game. I may not have actually watched a full LP of it. I don't know. Or if I did, I wasn't paying that much attention. So I haven't seen, like, I know a lot less about that one than I do about Golden Sun itself. But we are closing in on the end, and I will not be starting up the second game right away, but I do plan to do the second game at some point. Just because, like, I'm enjoying the game just fine, so I have no reason not to play it, kind of thing. And it is a series. I don't know that I'll do any others beyond that. I've heard iffy things about 3, and I know nothing about that at all. So I really only know about Golden Sun 1 and 2. I think Golden Sun 2 was supposed to be part of the same game, but they just, like, it was too big, so they had to split it or something. I will say that it's a game that could use a graphical remake. I don't know if it needs a systems remake, although I find the class system way too cumbersome. Just mainly because it's like if you could save a template and it would automatically assign your Jin around, or you had like you could go into a template and it would automatically do the assigning. It would be handy, but like just from trying it out a little bit, it really does feel like the class system is just extremely cumbersome to do anything with. And it's not very easy to see the changes, I feel. Especially because it's like, you have to, like, you'll assign all but one of the genies to the person to get to the new class, and you're in a crappy class, and then you assign the last one, and boom, now you're in a great class. So it's like, you really can't see the changes until everything is all said and done. It's extremely cumbersome. I don't really know of a better way to do it, honestly, because I know that like it is a pretty complex system based on the number of genies that you have assigned, and each genie does do different things. So there probably are very specific uh, individual assignments with the genies where like spritz or whatever is better on so and so in such and such class than it is on this other person who will also be taking water genies or something like that. So I definitely understand why a lot of people just stick with the basic classes because they're good. They're not great, but they're good, and it's just so much easier. It really is. It's an interesting system, but just overly complex and too many moving parts. Like, I think if all of the genies were functionally the same as each other in that regard, they all gave the same stats, or they gave no stats at all, and it was only class-based stuff. So it didn't matter if you gave spritz to person A or B or whatever, you know. I think that that would probably end up being better for that because you wouldn't have to worry about who you had assigned to whom and stuff like that. I don't know. It is a system that makes me not want to mess with the classes, even though I have done a little bit of that. And also the fact that a lot of it really only becomes good when you get the final genies, which we haven't gotten yet. So, I don't know. I think it's an overly complex and cumbersome system, both in terms of the mechanics and what it ends up, what you have to do to set it all up. I think it's an overly complex system. Some of that is limited by the fact that it's a Game Boy Advance game. But I do think that at least a graphical remake. I'm not a huge fan of the graphics of Golden Sun. Like, they're not bad, but it definitely feels like there's a lot of interpolation going on. I mean, there is. And higher graphical fidelity and higher resolution would have improved a lot of it. I find some of the monsters to be kind of smudgy in terms of graphics. Not very clear on exactly what's going on. Some of the NPCs can be as well. It's just what they were going for would have worked better, I think, as like a PlayStation game rather than a Game Boy Advance game. Neither here nor there. It's a shame it didn't get a port or a remake at some point along the way. But it's also a game that would be a good candidate for a graphical remake, I think. Something like the HD 2D remakes for Dragon Quest kind of thing. I think that is the kind of game that would be served very well by that. Anyway, like I said, I am enjoying the game. It is fun to play, and I do enjoy the puzzles. Like, the puzzles aren't overly complex, but most of the time, they're not also, just like, what the hell were they thinking kind of things. So, definitely there's definitely, good quality there that I enjoy. Some of them are too easy, but it's also a game aimed at people significantly younger than me, with significantly less gaming experience than me. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Anyway, Eiyuden Chronicle is also ongoing, and I'm having fun with that. I have no clue how much of the game is left on that at all. The only things that I'm using, I do have a guide for some of the mini games that I've encountered so far. Begoma, I got a guide for. I got a guide for the card game, which will be showing up in an upcoming video. And I got a recruitment guide and stuff like that. But I'm not, like, beyond that, there's nothing that I'm, like, following a guide for. But I'm definitely having fun with that. I hope you guys are enjoying that as well. Dragon Quest 1 HD 2D is ongoing on Monday stream, so I will be playing that later today as of this recording. Obviously, if you're watching this not on December 1st, then it's not coming up later today for you. But I'm playing the Draconian Quest version of that, and I'm definitely discovering that is not a that is not designed for blind playthrough. That is designed for you having looked at the specific strategies that take out enemies. Because if you're playing it blind, you're going to get to the bosses, many of the bosses, and you're just going to cop out because that is anything that primarily is a physical enemy, that's the best way of taking care of them. It really is. It works like 7 out of 8 times. You take no damage. They take the damage that was coming your way themselves. And then you just have to get lucky that you roll not an 8 most of the time. I don't know that it's actually 7 out of 8. I think that's what it is. A lot of Dragon Quest operates on 8ths. So things would be, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 8, 1 out of 16, 1 out of 32, 1 out of 64, etc., etc. So I'm pretty sure that... I mean, it might be 1 out of 16, but I suspect it's closer to 1 out of 8. I could actually go look it up, and they may have even changed the mechanics for Dragon Quest 1 HD 2D. I don't know. But the last session that we had, there were a lot of boss fights, and I did switch to other, the other difficulty settings to try out the boss. And they're still pretty difficult, but I can definitely see that they would be much more doable on other difficulties. Whereas I really do suspect that Draconian Quest is designed for people who have either already played the game, already discovered the patterns and the patterns of the enemies, know exactly what the best weapon to use against them is, that kind of thing. And if you haven't done that work, then you just end up getting, oftentimes getting into this loop of cop out and stuff like that. And it's not great gameplay in that regard. I don't know if I will continue with Draconian on 2, but probably because part of the problem is that because Dragon Quest 1 you only have the one character, you don't have the ability to just have a character focus on healing. Because with one character, any round that you're not doing healing, you're taking damage and you're not dealing damage, so you're making no progress. It's backwards progress. And it has to be a situation where you're healing more than they are doing. And some of these bosses can do most of your hit points and damage in one attack. There's no way to stay ahead of that. The original Dragon Quest 1, it generally is a situation where you get to a boss and you get into a pattern that's like attack, attack, heal, attack, attack, heal, attack, attack, heal. Because they're doing enough damage to you that you need to heal every 3 rounds, and those other rounds you can attack. It could also be attack, heal, attack, heal, attack, heal, that kind of thing. But in this version, because hit points have been increased, damage has been increased, of course, part of it is playing Draconian Quest. If you encounter an enemy that primarily does physical attacks, then it very much is a situation where it's to your advantage to cop out, because then if it works, you take no damage, they take damage, you don't have to heal. But it's also not the most interesting or fun gameplay. So, I did a little bit of looking at some of the bosses, and I definitely see, it was like, okay, I see a situation where this is kind of the idea that you're supposed to do. And, again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that you only have one character. I think that they're taking methods of gameplay from other Dragon Quests and applying them to Dragon Quest 1, and it doesn't work quite so well. And it's just kind of like a situation of needing to have a guide is not that great. And you can figure out the patterns for a lot of the enemies, but I found there was the last session, one of those enemies that I fought had a very, very, very clear pattern to me, and it was very easy to, once I figured out the pattern, to then try to start manipulating it. The previous one that I had fought, I discovered afterwards that it did have a pattern, but I wasn't seeing that, and partly because it was a pretty basic pattern of and it wasn't very obvious to me as a player. But at the same time, I was also trying to focus on can I do this in other ways, and oftentimes discovering that no, I can't do it in other ways. So I feel like they the enemies do too much damage in that regard. Even on Draconian Quest, I think they do too much damage in that regard to make it a healthy situation where basically they are presenting you with these bosses which have either a very boring way of beating them, cop out, like the always cop out kind of plan, or a very highly specific where round one you do X, round two you do Y, round three you do Z, etc., etc. I probably shouldn't have started at X, but it was like round one you do A, round two you do B, round three you do C, round four you do D. You know, like every round has to have this specific pattern for you to defeat the enemy, and if you deviate from it, then you lose. I don't like that kind of gameplay. Um, I like a bit more seat of the pants kind of thing. I don't mind having a basic strategy of, you know, these work. You know, try to reduce his defense, try to increase your defense, or something like that. But again, because you have one character, any round in which you're doing any of these, like anything, any kind of debuff on them, any kind of buff on yourself, it's a round in which you're not healing, you're not doing damage, but you're taking damage from them. So you're not making a whole lot of progress. And the fact that the game that ever since I don't know when it started, if it was like Dragon Quest 9 or 10, or if it was actually 11 that started this. Back with the original 8, things like buff would increase your defense by a set amount, and you'd get less. You generally get less effect out of it the more you did it, but you could keep doing it, and you could keep buffing to a point where you basically take no damage. Not for very long, because those spells don't last very long. But if an enemy is doing a lot of damage, then you can keep buffing until you get to a point where you're basically taking no damage, and then have your character attack. And part of the problem with one character is that, like, you can't do that very easily. And of course, they got rid of that somewhere after 8, the original version of 8. So you can only put one buff on yourself. You know, there's the icon has either one arrow up or two arrows up, and I'm not even sure if there's anything that does the two arrows up in this one. But it's not clear how much that's actually increasing your defense, and you can't just get a cumulative effect by casting it a bunch of times. If you were having a really hard time with a physical boss in Dragon Quest VIII, you could do extra buffing, and that would really reduce the damage that you take. And you can't do that in these more modern Dragon Quests, which I do find a bit reductive in the numbers of strategies that you have available because of that. So, I don't know. I'm enjoying the game, but the boss fights, the design, I feel that they've kind of missed the mark with, I guess. But we're at the end of the main story. I'm positive that there's some sort of post game. I have no idea what that's going to be like. If I get really frustrated, I'm definitely going to drop myself back down to normal difficulty rather than Draconian Quest. Partly because like last session, I just kind of felt like the design for it isn't that great. Like Dragon Quest 3 on the Draconian Quest, it was tough, and there was some bad stuff near the end in terms of how you're supposed to do things that I didn't like and I didn't appreciate. I thought there was some bad design, but up to that point, and admittedly, part of that I think with Dragon Quest 3 is because you create your party, you choose a bunch of different classes, you have lots of classes to choose from, so you have a large variety of ways that you can approach every given fight. Dragon Quest III in particular, they can't really come to a fight and say they have to use spell A and then and power B and with these people and do this thing, because you can get to that fight and you may not have those abilities. There has to be a real flexibility in Dragon Quest III because you have such customization. There's basically no customization in Dragon Quest One. The closest is, do you actually get all the, do you get these items? Do you find these items in these various chests? Do you get these scrolls that have these abilities? And have you used all the seeds so far? Like that's really the customization extent for Dragon Quest One. Otherwise, it's only levels. What level are you? And do you have the abilities that you get at those levels? And they're gonna generally assume that you're at particular levels minimum for certain fights, so they can basically be like, all right, we know he's gonna have the player is gonna have these abilities open to them, and these spells open to them, and these items open to them. So we're going to this is what is required to defeat this boss. And unless there's a signal in advance, it's like it's very, very restrictive on the gameplay, I feel like. Especially with having so many things available to you, there's a lot of abilities and spells in the game that kind of feel not that useful. Because it's like so many other things I could do that just seem better. I don't know. Some of it is down to having just the one party member, but I don't know. I think that there should be generally more of a routine of attack, heal kind of thing, which in and of itself is not the best loop, but it still could be a, attack, buff, heal, attack, buff, heal, something like that. And you do have multiple buffs available to you. You could increase your agility, you could increase your defense, you could oomph yourself. There's all these things that you could do, and that can change how you do in the fight. The fact that it ends up being a situation where it's much more that if you don't know the pattern for an enemy, you just cop out. It's not that great. Anyway, overall, I still like the game, but it's definitely a game that if you're planning to play it on Draconian Quest, I would recommend just look up the bosses and figure out what the strategy is for defeating them. Because that's what they are clearly expecting you to do. Even on normal difficulty, I suspect that you may want to do something like that too. So, anyway, neither here nor there at this point. We'll see how far I get into with the final boss tonight, because that's what's coming. We're basically right there. And then we got post-game. And then we'll be going into Dragon Quest II at some point soon. Probably a week or two. Hopefully only like a week or two. I don't know. I hope that the post-game isn't super-duper long. Anyway, over on the Zerfall's channel, I think he had a bit of a break, some holidays. Here in the U.S., but he's Canadian. But he posted a new Briley Witch Chronicles video this week. Well, he was actually sick for a little bit too, and that probably delayed posting. But we have wrapped up the recording for that game, and we are planning on starting a new game very soon. Which the videos will probably wait until that's all done. But that has wrapped up, and we will be getting those videos up. So do check those out over on his channel. Also, our Spelljammer adventures on Saturday are continuing on apace. Definitely having lots of fun with that. And Lego building streams are finally back on Wednesdays and Fridays. After a long break over the summer, Past couple months we've been getting back into it, and I've been having a lot of fun. Just this past weekend for Black Friday, Lego released the Enterprise D set from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I have ordered that. It is on its way, so it'll be in my hands at some point. As soon as it is in my hands, the next day that once I finish whatever I'm building when it comes, the very next thing that we build will be the Enterprise D. So keep an eye on the Twitch alerts. You can get to my Twitch page from the links, and 6 more links here. The video description here, of course, and video descriptions for most other new videos going up. The Spelljammer, Lego, and Dragon Quest videos are all going up on my AuldDragon VODs channel, which does need to hit 1,000 subscribers before I can monetize this. So please do consider subscribing if you are not, and check out the content there. The pair of channels together don't really constitute any more content than what I was doing before I started this up. So you're not going to be like flooded with stuff. Like I already got all the old stuff uploaded on that, so there's nothing else. Like everything that goes up on that channel is just going to be fresh streams at this point. So if you're not subscribed to that, please do. And help me to get to 1,000 subscribers there. I mean, I do have almost 26,000 subscribers here, so, you know, few more of you guys could go over there and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was just like a coincidence with changes to YouTube, but new subscriptions on both that channel and this one, they have really cratered over the past couple months. Like it's down a significant percentage from what it used to be, and it's very, very frustrating. I suspect a lot of it has to do with changes to the YouTube algorithm, which is terrible. They need to get rid of it. As I've mentioned many times before, YouTube does not like serial content anymore. Let's Plays were instrumental to turning YouTube into what it is today. It was early major content that drew a lot of people to the platform and kept them on the platform. Now that they're here, YouTube doesn't want that anymore. I don't know why. It seems like a pretty good way. I mean, 43 videos of Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. It's a lot of content to just, sit and binge and watch straight through all that. But that's not what they want. So they want the isolated video that... Well, okay, so I have I suspect I know why, and I'll get to that in a second. They want the isolated one-off video. The top 10 reasons why blah blah is the best game. Things you didn't know about such and such game. That isolated video that you can watch one and done, and you might be interested in more of that channel's stuff, but it doesn't lead directly into the next video. You do not have to have watched the top 10 reasons why Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is the best game to watch how to recruit the best character in Eiyuden Chronicle. Whatever. That is what they want these days, and that is because the algorithm is really set to serve up individual content and not serialized content. It doesn't have a very good understanding of the difference between episode 1 and episode 30 of a Let's Play. I have seen plenty of times where it has served me videos definitely in the middle of a serial content, like either a series of streams about a game, like it suggests to me someone's latest stream on a particular game, not their first one. So I'd be jumping into the middle of it. And jumping into the middle of something is never a good thing. You want people to start at the beginning. That's the whole point of a beginning. But YouTube doesn't understand. Like the algorithm doesn't really understand the difference between an episode 1 and an episode 30, with the exception of if you've just watched episode 29. It can understand that, but I think it's usually understanding that because most people put them in playlists. So it can very easily suggest you the next video in a playlist. It is not so good at suggesting just a random episode 1. And that is one reason why they are working to set their system up to not like this kind of content and systematically push it down in the rankings and the suggestions and everything like that. And it's really awful. It's really crappy. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. Best I can do is at this point, if you want to support me and ensure that I can continue doing this, because basically everything is trending down. Income is trending down, views are trending down, subscriptions are trending down, hours watched is trending down. Some of that is because I moved the streams off to the other channel, but around now it should be stabilizing. And it's not. So it's really all like the nature of the YouTube algorithm and what they want people to watch on the platform. Getting rid of the algorithm, I think, would help a lot, because then it would just be based on people searching for things and looking up games and stuff like that. But if you want to help in that regard, definitely watching the videos, liking them. If you have something to say, leave a comment, please. And also consider joining here. I've got the join option here. I've got the join on all of the videos. All of that will help on YouTube proper. For more general help, obviously, Patreon is super duper necessary. The amount of income that I'm getting from Patreon is also down, so that's a little bit separate. But, if the YouTube algorithm is shaping how people are watching content and is drawing them away from Let's Plays in general, then that could make people just less interested in watching LPs in general. And thus not as interested in supporting the people that they maybe used to watch and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know the details, but that's down. So it's not a good situation for those of us who are trying to make a living on this. But if you have a little bit of money, and of course the economy is not doing so hot right now, I understand that. Definitely do. But if you want to ensure that I can continue doing this, please do consider supporting me on Patreon, supporting me on Twitch with subscriptions and bits. All of that does go a very long way to ensure that I can continue producing the content. And of course, the names of my Patreon supporters are scrolling by on the bottom of the video, as always. And I do really, really appreciate everyone who has been so supportive so far. A case in point, our current 2 active series, Golden Sun and Eiyuden Chronicle, both of those are Patron's Choice series. I'm playing them because those are games that were nominated and voted on first by Patreon supporters and then by the YouTube audience as a whole. And I will definitely be returning to that next year as well, as we do every year. Next year, I will definitely commit to having a longer period for that, because I I had a very bad summer, and I usually try to do it over the summer, so it ended up being very late summer when I ran it all, and the time frame was rather compressed, unfortunately. But next year, it will definitely be better. Fingers crossed I don't have another bad summer. We'll see. Knock on wood, as they say. But yeah, so things are not very healthy for YouTube content creation and Twitch streaming right now, unfortunately. The Twitch streaming, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know whether things are up or down over there. I may seem like I'm not that small, but I'm a pretty small Twitch streamer. I mean, in terms of like people who actually try to make a living at this rather than people who just do it as a hobby. Um, I'm pretty small over there, and I have not had much luck getting larger. So I don't know. We'll see. But all that's to say, your support is what allows me to keep doing this through channel memberships, Twitch subscriptions, Patreon support, all of that. It really does mean a lot to me. And I want to thank you all for all the support that you have been giving me. And if you ever get any survey requests for YouTube based on viewership, definitely do mention how much their changes are negatively impacting creators like me. Every time I get a survey, I make a point of pointing out that their changes are bad. There's a recent change that it's a minor change, but again, it just goes to show how clear it is that they're not considering people like me. On my subscription feed, let's see, is it yeah, so like this button right here, you can do a save to playlist, and they've revamped this. So if I pull up save to playlist, we get this. You can't search this anymore. You can't search the playlists anymore. So let's say I want to add in something to a really old playlist. This happens with Lego stuff. It's one of the reasons why I'm going to be keeping basically all the Lego playlists, with the exception of maybe some. Like, I'm going to put an Enterprise playlist on this channel when I build that. But like for the Lego City sets, Lego Friends sets, Lego Botanical sets, I'm going to be keeping all of those playlists over on the AuldDragon VODs channel from now on. I figure if people are explicitly searching for and looking for Lego building videos, VODs, streams, that kind of content, then they're going to be getting the results frequently from that channel anyway. So that's, kind of going to be over there, keep this channel a little bit less cluttered in that regard. But if for some reason, like, it's entirely possible that they will make more Star Trek sets in the future. I'm certainly hoping. So if a year later, they produce a new Star Trek set, and I want to change the old Enterprise playlist to just Star Trek, just rename it to Star Trek, I will have to scroll through all of the playlists I've created since I last added a video to that. I can't search. You used to be able to search in this box. In addition, when I have a Spelljammer video, I'm not going to do it right here, but if I click on this, this window all closes. Used to not close. So, like, these are hostile changes to people who do a lot with playlists. I think that they are very much looking at playlists not as a content creator driven thing, so much as you just have like you have your favorite music playlist on there, and then you have your favorites, and that's it. They're thinking of people who have half a dozen playlists at most. They're definitely not thinking of people who have hundreds of playlists, like I do, because I have to have different playlists for all these different games that I've played and everything. And then of course, and this comes up specifically with having the VODs channel and collaborating with people like Zerfall. And it's a hostile change. It's a hostile change to how I used it before, how I know a lot of other people have used it before, and it's just very rude. And it's just another element of the clear changes that they're making in a way that doesn't take into account different uses for the platform. And it's very frustrating. So, what is there to do other than complain every time YouTube gives us the opportunities to complain? Not much, unfortunately. If there is, there's a lot of research out there that computerized algorithms are very unhealthy. They have a tendency to increase anger amongst people. They have a tendency to increase, and it's not just YouTube. It's things like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, all the things that have algorithm-based feeds that try to predict what you want to watch or look at and feed that to you, with the explicit additional element of keeping you on the platform. A lot of that is designed to heighten anger, because that's one thing that anger does, is it keeps you engaged, but in a very unhealthy way. And there's a lot of people, like, if you watch like basically one form of content on YouTube, you're mostly going to be unaffected by it, with the exception of how it changes what like whether you see my content or not, kind of thing, if you watch LPs. But if you watch like any political content, it's gonna start, feeding you stuff designed to make you angry, and it's extremely unhealthy. There's a lot of research about it, how it really heightens negative emotions and things like that. Hopefully, one of these days we can get like actual restrictions on how algorithms can be designed, or if they can even be used at all to feed you content. It should definitely be you should definitely be able to turn off algorithmic content entirely. As I've said before, periodically when my algorithms on YouTube get filled with junk, and this is the other thing, is like all of most of this content is gaming content. YouTube doesn't differentiate between a let's play and an analysis of the best characters in blah 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 game, or why the designers of such and such game are so terrible. It doesn't differentiate between any of that. So it's just as likely to feed you that content after watching LPs, even if you've never watched any of those kinds of one-off videos, because it's all gaming content, quote unquote. As I've said before, when I periodically get frustrated with those suggestions, which I very much make a point of avoiding suggestions, like following them, unless I'm already subscribed to someone. If I want to watch something, I will look for it. I will do a search. And so much of it is clickbait anyway. Like that it feeds in, like clickbait feeds into that need to answer the question that's being posed in the clickbait subject line and video title and thumbnail and stuff like that. I will go through and just watch hours of music videos, because then YouTube is like, oh, you watched music videos. Here, have even more music videos, most of which I've already watched. So it's like, it's a great way to cleanse your timeline, your algorithmic content. If you are getting frustrated by what it is suggesting you, take some time and just watch a whole bunch of music videos. It works really well. Doesn't work for super long, but like almost everything you watch for at least a few weeks after that is gonna have a bunch of music videos in there. And if you want to just like like try to keep reinforcing that, just keep serving me music videos that I like. You finish watching my latest video of Eiyuden Chronicle, watch that journey video that just popped up, kind of thing, afterwards, or whatever music you like watching, you like listening to. It works really well. So anyway, all of that to say, things aren't going super duper well here on my channel. They're not going super awful either, but it does really rely on the support of all of you, which I really do appreciate. I really do. I love engaging with you guys in the comments section and stream chats and Discord and everything like that. But it does help keep me going through your support. Here on YouTube, on Patreon, on Twitch, all that does go a long, long way, especially with the changes that YouTube is doing. And it's been, like, they've been doing this for a long time now, but it's just getting more and more noticeable. So, anyway, I want to thank you guys once again for watching, and I will see you in the next update video. See you then, everyone.